Hey guys, so this is going to be MAFS Season 19, Episode 11, titled I'm Done. Um, thank, thank the heavens that this is starting to get to the just two episodes of drop, because that 4 episode and 3 episode drops was kind of a lot to watch in such a short time. But um, so I'm gonna go based off of the um, how many people had uh, little in the episode as we saw, and to the most, or at least the most that I wrote down. Um, but first, I'm gonna pick up where we left off last episode, where everyone was talking, Brittany had gotten up from the table because all the other the other ladies were speaking up, mainly Megan and Jalen, and trying to get Will to understand where she was coming from. So Megan's already in the bathroom with Brittany. So Brittany explains that they don't have an emotional connection, and all that. Or I think I heard her say that she has an emotional connection with him, but he doesn't have one with her, or something like that. So back at the table, um, Megan and Jalen have to tell him, get up from the freaking table and go check on her. And that's what I don't understand about Will, is that you mean to tell me that you couldn't be bothered to go check on her, and you wait God knows how many minutes before you go check on her? What do you mean? That just further lets me know he doesn't care about her. He doesn't like her. He's only there so he doesn't get fined. And if you really cared about her, if you really think she's beautiful and 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 all that, and he really likes her like that, he would have gotten her from the table from the jump. He may objectively think that she's pretty, but he doesn't personally think that she's pretty. And because that's what he says when he eventually goes to the bathroom. It's like, well, you're beautiful. And it's like, no, you're only saying this now. It's kind of because you're still mic'd up, and that the producers and editors are going to pick this up, and you're and it just, I'm sorry. um I just he I just don't understand, like, what she's still doing there. I mean, I get it. He's a problem in his own right, because if he's refusing to give you anything in the way of affirmations, and you keep telling him that's what you want from a partner, and he's just refusing to do it, like, that's a problem, because he can find someone that is basically like Britney, except not her specifically, and he's still gonna do the same thing. But in this time, she could be one of those people that flips a switch and ends up doing damage to whatever property, like whatever items he owns. And I mean, not to say that that's right either. It's just, I mean, that could be another scenario, another avenue that someone goes down, because he's refusing to do, like, even basic decency sort of things in a relationship. I mean, and I'm not trying to put that into existence, like speak that into existence and put that on him. It's just, I mean, I'm just running another possible scenario that he could encounter, because he refuses to give any sort of affirmations. And I'm willing to bet that other women that he's dated, wanted the same thing, and he refused to give it, and that's why he's still single. Because a lot of women tend to like hearing that, that you care about them and that they're beautiful and that like you like to be reassured. Like nobody likes to not be reassured. So, and that goes for men and women, but women tend to like to hear that verbally rather than as actions. Because men do a lot of because there are a lot of men who can put up a mask and feign like they actually care about you through actions, but they don't really actually care about you. And we've seen that a lot of the time for who knows how long. So that's why we like to hear it as well, because I mean, so yeah, I don't know. So the events turn into a sort of obvious producer-led game called Truth or Drink, where someone has to pick a card, read it out loud, and then pick a person to either answer with the truth or they will have to take a drink. And if someone gets a card that says buy around, everyone has to answer. So Belynda picks the first card, and chooses Jalen to answer, which is give an example of your most passionate dirty talk, and she takes a drink. So it just goes on there from there. And I'm not going to go into every single detail of what I mean. I wrote down every question that we saw on camera that was asked and who answered it and all that stuff, but I'm not gonna go through every single one. But that's basically the type of questions that they ask, and this is basic on pretty much almost every single question except for like maybe one was about a sexual question. Like I don't know why like they're having to answer sexual questions around people who are essentially strangers. Like I mean, at this point, yes, you're kind of still yes, you've gotten to know these people, but at the end of the day, they're still mostly strangers to you because before 4 to 6 weeks ago, you didn't know each other like that. So I mean, anyways, eventually, the couples pack up the next either that night or the next morning to leave the retreat and go back home. So um now um they are the first couple that I really didn't have much to say about. Um, they had gone to like a restaurant for like lunch or dinner or something, and they talk about the baby. I didn't write down everything that they said because I didn't feel a need to. And the next thing you know, like a few days later or whatever, they watch, I believe, Megan's siblings or Megan's children, Megan's siblings' children. So, like her nephews, I think. I think they're all boys or something like that. Like there were at least two boys, I think, and then there may have been a third child, but I don't remember. Um, so, that's basically all I had for them. I'm sorry about my phone ringing just now. But yeah, that's all I had for them. Quite literally nothing to really report. The next one that didn't really have much of anything going on is Jalen and Josh. Um, they organize a painting activity with both of their friend groups. And during the activity, the friends are asking what they have in common, and they can't really say anything. Again, nothing really to sort of see here. Um, and the only other thing I can really kind of say is that, as far as we know, we didn't see an argument happen based off of the things you have in common, and it ends up leading to the community tugging in, and that's the only thing that I can really say that was a good outcome with that because literally nothing happened. I mean, Jalen's sort of in some other scenes with Belynda, but I'll talk more about those scenes when I get to Belynda and Chad. But yeah, that is quite literally the only things of note for them. The next couple that had not very much going on this episode, is Brittany and Will. So they get back to the apartment, and again, she's asking a question related to what frustration and annoyance, and she's asking, "What do you do when you get annoyed and frustrated?" I'm like, "Girl, can we get off the topic of frustration at this point? Because this is literally the same thing that you've been talking about since the fucking honeymoon at this point. Like, please get out the frustration thing." Because, like, I mean, thankfully he actually freaking answered, but like at this point, you need to kind of read the room, and you know that he's more than likely not going to answer the question and kind of deflect and give you some existential answer about whatever the fuck. Like, that had nothing to do with even the question to begin with. So I mean, but yeah, like I said, thankfully he answered the question. And what he said was he likes to be by himself. He likes to either go to the gym and exercise, or just go by, like, not be around people for a while. Um, Eventually later, Will and Brittany go to the airport to pick up his mom for his birthday. Um, and they go to a restaurant, sit down. His mom asks questions and about how they're doing and all that stuff. And they light candles for a birthday cake that they brought to the restaurant. He blows them out, got all that stuff. We then see on the apartment cams, and this is where I kind of need to go off a little side note for a second. But I didn't think that they still had these cameras, and these additional cameras that are like on the wall, or near the ceiling, like on the wall towards the ceiling and all that stuff, in the apartments anymore. Because the last time that I remember the cameras like that being in the apartment was Denver, but that was only like one scene, I believe, with Austin and Becca, because um they were one of the only couple that had the same conversation going on and on and on and on, but how she wanted to have some intimacy, but he was equating intimacy to, only having smecks, and he wasn't thinking about intimacy as, hand holding, cuddling, whatever. And he was grossed out about cuddling her or something like that. And um uh um And I don't even think that was that was a camera that was mounted up on the wall towards the ceiling. I think that was just a diary cam that they usually give them, because they usually give diary cams to these contestants or participants. I don't want to say contestants, so participants. And you see them, use diary cam in the morning, and they're holding it up above their head while they're in bed and all that stuff. So that it looked more like a diary cam rather than like one of the cameras mounted up on the wall towards the ceiling. But I think the last season I truly remember that is the Houston season, when Jose had, quote unquote, accidentally locked the door on Rachel, when she had gone out to, walk one of the producers out to their cars or whatever, or out of at least just out of the apartment and down the hall or whatever, even if they didn't go to the car. And he had, like I said, quote unquote, locked the door um, basically locked her out. Um, and so that's the last season I for sure remember that, but it could have been after that too. I just don't, like I said, I don't remember, because as far as I remember, we didn't see that anywhere else. I mean, that's like I said, the last visible, you know, um, that's the last one for sure I remember. But It could have been, but anyway, long story short, I, you know, other than obviously earlier in like last week's batch of episodes, we saw Jalen and Josh sort of talk about how he lied about deleting or unfollowing his ex off of social media. Um, I mean, I haven't seen those mounted cams in the apartment when the cameramen aren't there um, in a long time. So, but anyway, so getting back to the actual scene, so we see like one of the apartment cams in Will and Brittany's apartment where she's telling him, right before he goes on a work trip, I love you. He pulls her into him and gives and they hug. Which is something else I wanted to make a note about. He never actually moves towards her to hug her. Um, he always forces her to move to him. And I'm wondering why he's doing that. I don't know if I can't tell if it's really malicious, or if it's a subconscious, but I'm just curious why he's always forcing her to move into him or into his arms or whatever. It's just it's weird. Anyways, so the second to last couple I want to talk about is Rhonda and Pat. So the first time we see them, they're at Rhonda's house. The grandkids are there, or at least at the very least, only the grandkids are there, and uh, you know, she explains that her mom's new husband, Danny, who she's been married to for I think 40 years, at least 40 years. I don't remember exactly. I think it was like 40 years or something like that. And he recently got pneumonia, and it sounds like it's serious. She also says that that's exactly how her dad died, was that he got pneumonia and he died. Um, so she sort of nudges the grandchildren to go kind of um, do something else for a second, like away from them, so that she can bring up the fact that he bought tickets and didn't tell her. So she tells him, "Look, I would have rather you, you know, tell me that you bought the tickets and asked if I would like to go, since the only reason why you really bought the tickets was because of your mom, and you wanted to bring her to um a concert that you think that she would like." Um, and so he tells her, "Well, I will do better to coordinate." And then she starts nitpicking and saying, "Well, do better to coordinate, or do you mean invite?" I'm like, "Girl, like, at this point, she's literally picking at every little thing that he says, literally everything that he says. She nitpicks every single thing, and at this point it's getting tiresome because he's right, you're not focusing on the times that he gets things right. You're only focusing on, at least from what we see, she's only focusing on the things that he has gotten wrong and none of the things that he's gotten right. And I guess in her mind, those small one-offs, like one or two instances, outweigh the good points that he or the instances that he's had. Um, so in a later scene, Pat then meets with his friend Adrian alone before Rhonda joins them in the next half hour and explains the issues that they've had. So Adrian tells him that while he has to let go and just be, he also needs to be able to feel safe and secure too. Rhonda then gets there and she explains what would help is for Pat to say in the moment, like if something, feels um, if something feels bad to him, to say, hey, can you um can you can we put a pin in this and talk about this like in either in an hour or X amount of time, basically later today, or can we, talk about this tomorrow? Which, honestly, I agree. Um, I think that that's a fair thing for her to want him to say. Um, and so she, again, brings up the song thing where she was trying to um she had a visceral reaction to the song and about how it made her think of the times that she was in a toxic relationship, and she first listened to the song after that, and she learned to get back to her old self, or get back to a new sense of self or something like that. um and she brings up the she brings up another instance. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was like the I don't remember which instance it was, but she brings up another instance too, and I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, how else is he supposed to relate to you and for you to get to know him if he doesn't share things, how, like, if he's not able to ever share how a certain song or movie or whatever it is that they're talking about relates to him. Like, how is he supposed to ever, like, how is he ever supposed to let you get to know him? How is he supposed to do that if he can't share anything? Because you literally were complaining about him just talking nonstop. In that one instance when you were eating breakfast on the honeymoon, which okay, touche. That's a good. You're not wrong. He wasn't allowing you to speak at all in that instance. So, okay, touche. I you know I don't blame you for bringing it up then. However, now you're doing the exact same thing that you accused Pat of doing, and I think rightfully accused him of doing on the honeymoon. Now he can't get a word in edgewise, so that just lets me know that this relationship is supposed to be all about you, and that you're supposed to be the only one talking and the only one being able to share things, and that's not the case. What you really need is a therapist at this point, because every other conversation is about how you were in a toxic relationship, or talking about your dead dad, and how you're getting emotional because you have these buried feelings about how your dad was essentially you know choosing your sister over you, and all this stuff. So it's like it's I mean, when is he able to ever share anything with you? Because that's how people can relate to you, is when you bring up something, and um when you bring up something about a song or a movie and what it means to you. Like, if they have a similar, or if they have a story that they um would like to share, like that, and tell you what that means to them, then okay, like, how else are they gonna bring it up, like, talk about it? I mean, just say, okay, like, I'm glad that you were able to move along and find yourself because of this song. Like, oh, I mean, just say that and just let the conversation die. I mean, And then randomly some other time say, hey, you know how we were talking about the song and how what it meant to you? It's like, well, this is what it meant to me. It's like like the best time to bring up that sort of sentiment is when when she was talking about it. Like, I just don't understand, like, because uh, another YouTuber I follow, who also recaps the show, said in the last batch of um, episodes from last week, had said, well, the way you're able to relate to people and to sort of try to um, have them get to know you, and all that stuff is by explaining your sort of um, what that particular song, movie, TV show, uh, events, etc., means to you as well. Because I mean, at the end of the day, she's gonna. I mean, she at some point she can make the claim. Well, towards decision day, say, look, I have no idea who Pat is, because she hasn't shared anything with me about anything that he's gone through. It's like, well, you didn't give him the room to do so. All you wanted was to talk about you and the fact that your dad is dead, and you're so sad about the fact that your dad is dead, and the fact that your relationships were so toxic and so bad because one husband didn't want to work and the other one basically was like like a week before you got married, you move in, and he didn't want you to, he didn't want you to put any of your personal knickknacks or whatever the fuck in the room, and sort of make the room your own as well. So it's always some heavy thing with her, like some heavy depressing thing with her. And you know I mean, at some point you're gonna have to like lighten the mood and sort of talk about something else that's not so freaking heavy. But pretty much either every other conversation or every conversation is about some heavy thing concerned with Rhonda. And at this point, we're all tired. Not, and I'm sure Pat is even more tired because he has to listen to it, and what I'm sure is for freaking hours. And at this point, it's just like, I wouldn't be surprised if he calls it quits. Um, but anyway, so off of that little soapbox for a second, um, Adrian, is saying, um, he gets it or whatever, and so Rhonda gets emotional, gets up to leave the table, goes to the bathroom. The bleacher follows after her, and she explains, well, why is it that Adrian can understand it in at the snap of fingers, but in basically a nanosecond, but Pat can't figure it, like understand it in 15 weeks. It's not been 15 weeks, first of all. And second of all, the reason he's not getting it is because you're being, I don't want to say rational. You have too high of expectations. Unrealistic. That's what I want to say. You're being unrealistic because eh, while I understand the whole not being heard thing, because that's what I felt like I've struggled with a lot of my life, is not being heard. And whenever I tried to say something, I always felt dismissed. So I understand that sentiment, Rhonda. I truly, truly understand that sentiment. However, your partner is not a dumping ground for you to just unload all of your trauma surrounding not being heard because of your daddy issues. That's not what they're there for. Okay, yes, talk about it once in a while, like maybe once or twice. I don't even like, I'll say even as little as a month, maybe every few months. But if every other freaking conversation is about how your dad never listened to you, you have unresolved feelings about your dad's death, if every other conversation is about that, that is unloading your trauma onto them, and that is not fair because they are not a trained professional. What you need is a therapist, Rhonda. I am so serious. You need a therapist because at the end of the day, no one's going to want to be burdened, for lack of a better word, with your trauma because that is such a heavy thing and they're not equipped to handle that. That's what you are missing is that, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, at some point, it's gonna give. It's gonna give, and um. Anyway, so she goes back to the table, goes on a tangent about all the other instances that they've had that she felt like Pat was listening, and she doesn't give full context. Like she talks about, I think the fact that she was talking about her dad, and when he died, like what age she was when he died, and he had to ask her, hey, what age did you say? How long did you say he was dead for? Um, and she doesn't get the full context about how he was literally driving to somewhere new, which was the cemetery where her dad's buried at, and this is some place that he's never been to before, and he's trying to make sure that they get there, not only get there before it gets freaking dark, because he's, like I said, never been there before, but um he's having to listen to like Google Maps give him directions, but he's also trying to make sure that you guys don't have an accident and end up freaking going to the hospital because he's distracted by you telling, like, having to retain this information because it's like, as, this is also something that I personally think will happen is that he's gonna end up being quizzed about, because she went on a whole diatribe about how of all the places that um she used to live, um and all that stuff, and with her parents and whatnot, and you know I feel like at some point she was gonna, quiz him about, all the stuff that she told him to in a roundabout way decide whether or not she wanted to stay with him on decision day. So if he managed to, uh, you know, if he managed to remember, at least 60 to 65% of the stuff, that she told him, or like 70, like anywhere from like 60 to 70% of the information that she told him, she was gonna say yes. But if he got lower than like 60%, then she was gonna say no. Like, I mean, because at some point, I mean, I don't know. Just, I'm so tired of her. I am so tired of her. I'm tired of all this stuff. Um. Anyway, so get into the last couple, Belynda and Chad. Um. So. Um. He's asking, while they're still at the retreat, what did you feel about Jalen's answers on the game? And she's like, well, I don't care. I'm fine. And so she's saying in the confessional, then, on decision day, she would say yes, essentially. Um, when they get home, she tells him that, well, he does his own whining, does his whining downtime. Sometimes she just wants him to like cuddle or spend time with her, but it seems like all he wants to do is, you know, um, go somewhere else and um, Um, all he wants to do is come over, say hey, and then go to his own space to uh, have his own decompressing time and stuff like that. Um, so the next thing we see is Belinda calling Jalen on a FaceTime and explaining that after he got back from the retreat, he told her that they're not filming tomorrow. So she makes a hair appointment to have um, to get her hair done and all that. So it turns out that they are in fact filming. So he started texting the producers because um, he was like, "Why are you giving me one set of information and it's something completely different um, when it's time to actually film? Because it's not the time that you gave me initially." So So he's involving her in the text messages um when he's texting them, and so she's like, don't involve me and all this stuff, and so things escalate. So initially what I was thinking in this scene is like, well, it does involve you because you are part of the show, and it's not like the hair appointment was a necessary thing. So, this is before, another scene later on in the episode, where they're talking about it that further explains stuff, and so then I get the full picture because at that point when she's talking on the phone with Jalen, you know, it, the only context we have is what she is saying. So what I'm hearing her say it is you know, it is informing my decision because I only have her side. So I'm over here thinking, well, you are the part of the process, so you're gonna need like the hair appointment really isn't all that needed, to be quite honest. It just isn't. Um, So in this later scene, they go to a sushi restaurant, and so he's explaining he met with a friend that he's known for at least 20 years, and he says that he told his friend that he's done with the BS that is the show, um, and I'm sitting here thinking, well, you signed up for this 8-week process, so you can't just opt out whenever you want just because you don't like the cameras anymore. Um, He says that he's tired of being talked to like a child. Um, and then they show a montage of him ready to stop filming from the wedding day to 22 days ago to 6 days ago. So he basically is getting snippy with the producer, like the producer and the cameraman, um, saying, "Hey, I'm not. I'm gonna taking these mics off. I'm tired. I want to go to sleep." Um, or that happened like 6 days ago. On the wedding day, yeah, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he basically was fed up. And then 22 days ago, when they had when all the guys had gone to, I think, Chad's place, um, or Derek's place or whatever, um, they were there, and um, he was getting tired of the cameras and talking and talking and talking, which I can understand. I can kind of understand. Um, and so I'm just thinking to myself, there was no way he's this upset and it's coming out of nowhere. And I honestly knew there was something going on behind the scenes that we were not privy to before this point, because I always got the feeling that they weren't just this happy-go-lucky, couple like Jalen and Joshua were coming off as, because up until last week's episodes, Jalen and Joshua were coming off as this happy-go-lucky couple that were agreeable all the time, and they didn't have any disagreements. I mean, and like I said last week, I'm not expecting them to have arguments 24/7, 365. I'm not expecting that. But what I'm also not expecting them to be is happy-go-lucky 24/7, 365 either. Because at some point, you're going to come across something that either irritates you about them or something that they did, like something that they said or did. So this is the case here. It's like there's no way that they're just this happy, agreeable couple 24/7, 365. There's just no way. I'm sorry. At some point, you're going to come across a disagreement. Not to say that you're going to come across and have full blown knock down, drag out, arguments, but to say that you never have any disagreements at all whatsoever, yeah, I don't buy that. I'm sorry, I don't. And the little montage that we saw of Chad, I know worried Belynda. I know concerned her. You could see it all over her face in the one that was 6 days ago, and she was kind of leaning on her elbow on the bed, and you could tell it was bothering her. Like like there's no way that it wasn't bothering her. So it's just that she never said anything. As far as we know, she never said anything. She all we saw was her being happy, saying that she's happy, and she really at first like really enjoys his company, and then eventually that she loves him. So I was like, yeah, like this is the same thing that happened with Jalen. Like she was talking about how she was always happy to be with Josh and yada 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 yada, and then eventually started becoming, well, I'm sick and tired of like him dragging me on these excursions that he only wants to do, and I'm tired of going out of my comfort zone. It's like it's the same thing here. It's then, like I said last week, Jalen got it from her freaking mama. So I'm just like, yeah. But and this is where we finally get the meat and potatoes of it all, if you want to call it that, where he explains that he's tired of having to change his meeting times that he has with his clients, and because he's told one thing and the next thing you know, he's having to um rearrange meetings with his clients because the producers all of a sudden just switched the times on him, and it's just I can understand how frustrating that can be, because at some point it can't keep switching the times on us and then like saying one thing and then completely saying something else. Like so I understand how that is frustrating for him, that you know he has to inconvenience his clients. So I understand that, and that's what it sounds like. It's the real problem is that his clients are being inconvenienced because the producers can't manage to just stick to one time and one time only. Why is it that you have to uh, say, well, we're gonna film at this time, but then say, well, we're gonna move the filming time either up or later, and that conflicts with a client meeting that I have. And so now I have to drop my client and cater to you. So I understand that it's very frustrating. So I get it in that sense. And so that's where I understand that he's getting tired of the show in that sense. It's not so much that he is filming in and of itself; is that his clients are suffering as a result. Um, and because I mean, at the end of the day, like he did sign up for the show. So maybe on some level, I'm hoping that if Chad, if you're watching this, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong in this assessment. But um, maybe for Chad, the fact that um he has to film himself is not really the issue. It's just that his clients are suffering. So he'll deal with the filming of it all because that's what he signed up for. It's just that he just doesn't want to continue inconveniencing his clients and all that. So because yeah, it's not just affecting him, it's affecting his clients personally. So it's just, it's just at some point something's got to give. So um anyway, so out of what seems like nowhere, um he talks about how um Josh he was speaking to Josh, and Josh was saying something about how, you know, the um about how um the production and the filming was coming in, like driving a wedge between him and Jalen as well. But Belynda doesn't believe that at all because she's talked to them both and they've never said anything about that. So after the sushi restaurant thing, Belinda goes to Jalen's house and tells her about what Chad had said about the wedge coming between the two, and how Chad had reached out to Josh. Jalen says that is not true because I've seen a text come across from Chad to Josh, and what it said was, um, what it said was, um, would you like to go do archery or something like that? Or go to like or some archery town, archery city or something like that. I don't remember, but and Josh had told him I couldn't because I have a very busy week. Um, and so Belinda then starts getting concerned that he's lying, that his lying would be an issue later on, which is understandable, which is quite understandable. Um, but yeah, so basically that is the entirety of the episode. I really wasn't trying to be on it for dang near an hour, but Rhonda was pissing me off because yet again she's not allowing for Pat to have any sort of say, and it's just I'm just like, please stop it. I'm begging you, just quit it. Just have your decision day now because at this point, none of these people need to be together. None of them actually. So, anyways, that is you know, basically the episode in a nutshell. Um, Let me know what you guys think. What did you guys think of episode 11? Um, is there a different perspective I'm missing as far as, Pat and Rhonda goes for sure? Um, or even with Chad and Belinda? Um, and like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you guys for episode 12.